Hey, Beastista here. Welcome to week 2 of the VDL. This week we are playing against the Alexandria Arcanines. So here's our matchup. Looking at the matchup, we can see that they have a couple of concerning things, but the big one, in my opinion, is probably Behemoth. Being able to set up Trick Room next to Lipard is really difficult for me to break up, and Behemoth also gets Power Meteor Beam. In addition to that, they also have a fairly good fast build with Crobat, and so if I don't lead something like Tornadus, I can kind of be in a situation where they just set up Tailwind and can outspeed me with some of their high offensive threats like Frost Moss, Urshifu, or Klotzer. So with that, let's get into the team I brought. So I ended up going with a Focus Ash Landorus with Earth Power, which can pretty much hits everything except the Crobat, and the Frostmoth, in which Stone Edge and Psychic hit those two Pokemon. We got Assault Vest Thunderous, which electric coverage hits pretty much everything on their team except for Dragapult, in which Dragon Pulse or Dark Pulse does pretty good damage into Dragapult. And other than that, the Assault Vest helps it live pretty much anything outside of Meteor Beam with the Analytic Boost, which I really can't survive. Next up, we have Tornadus, which has Protect, Tailwind, Icy Wind, and Air Slash. Technically, the Icy Wind was supposed to be a taunt, but I accidentally messed up, and this ended up being the Tornadus I ended up bringing. And then Citrus Berry, and I made the Tornadus quite bulky to survive pretty much most hits, and with it, kind of be a little bit harder to kill. Next up, we have the Mantine. So the Mantine is kind of designed to be a good in-game win condition. The Key Berry helps increase its defense. The Amnesia helps increase its special defense. And then we have Roost, Body Burst, and Air Slash kind of just to do some good damage. Next, we have Salamance. Salamance with Choice Scarf can outspeed anything on their team. And Dragon Claw should kill one-shot Dragapult if it's not sashed or incredibly bulky. Dual Wing Beat should do very good damage into most of the other team. And then, Earthquake and Rock Slide just for some spread damage. Finally, we have Articuno with Charty Berry, and in addition to the Charty Berry, we made it physical with Triple Axle, Brave Bird, and Ice Shard. The idea behind Triple Axle instead of something like Ice Beam is that, unlike Ice Beam, it does, if I connect all three hits with it, it does kill Dragapult, and it does kill Crobat. And then in addition to that, the physical makes me able to deal with Frostmoth a little better. So with that, let's get into the game. So here we are for game one. Looking at my opponent's team, they brought, some of the big Pokemon I was expecting, Lipard, Dragapult, Behemoth, Klotzer, Frostmoth. Fungus I wasn't particularly expecting to see. However, I can understand why it came just for, redirection. So looking at their team, I definitely want to lead Tornadus here because in my mind, Tornadus has Taunt, which I did not know. And so it's a good way to kind of prevent Trick Room on turn one. And then I decided to go with Articuno because Articuno seems like one of the better options with Triple Axle and Ice Shard being able to kill some Behemoths if it's not super defensively bulky. And then we decided we want Mantine in the back because Mantine is very good into their entire team because they don't have much electric coverage outside, outside of Special, Dragapult, or Behemoth. And then they're debating between Landorus and Thunderous as my last Pokemon, and I decide on Landorus just because the Focus Sash seems like a good switch in, and then also, being able to switch into a rock move seems relatively useful. So they lead Behemoth Life Part, which definitely one of the leads I was was expecting. I lead Articuno Tornadus. So with this lead, there's really not much options. I think the options is just Triple Axle into the Behemoth, hope that the Behemoth's not super bulky, and I was going to taunt here, but I realized I don't have taunt at this exact moment, and so I just went for the Air Slash and the double up. I'm just expecting a fake out into the Tornadus like they do because playing around taunt here, and I get the Triple Axle off. And I am pretty lucky here and I'm able to get all three hits, but we see that the Behemoth is quite bulky and they're able to get Trick Room up. And so here, I don't think there's much I can do except to just, go for the double up into Behemoth and hope I can kill it because, I could double protect, for example, which, might be an okay way to stall out the turn, but I'm definitely pretty concerned of just, I definitely want Behemoth down, and it's definitely one of my bigger threats at the moment. And so with that, I'm kind of just go for the double up. So Lipard goes for the fake tears into the Tornadus, which I'm not too concerned with right now because Meteor Beam, if it goes into Tornadus, it would kill it even without the fake tears. And so from here, though, we see that they do have Power Herb and Meteor Beam, and they go into my Articuno, which has a Charlie and there's a chance I should survive this because they are going first and they don't get the analytic boost. And as we see, I just barely survive. And with that, my Articuno is able to get off its triple axle into the Behemoth, and conveniently, I get all 3 hits. And from there, I also get an Air Slash into the Lipard, which does pretty reasonable damage. And so with that, they bring out the Klotzer. And so my Tornadus is at -2 special defense, so I don't really want to leave it in, especially because if they have something like Icy Wind or, Muddy Water or something like that in Klotzer, it might be able to kill Tornadus at -2. And so here I'm just kind of debating on whether or not I want to protect or go for the Ice Shards with Articuno. Ice Shards just gets some good chip on the Lipard, and I decided to do the Ice Shard to get a little bit of damage and switch in. I definitely think that there's a good chance that protecting might have been better, just stall out Trick Room a little bit, because the Mantine should be able to take pretty much anything on this side. And so we switch in the Mantine and we get the Ice Shard off, and the Ice Shard ends up doing reasonable damage. And they go for another fake tears. And this time it goes into the Articuno, and with the special defense drop and this Icy Wind definitely should kill. And with it, we are down a Pokemon, but we're in okay shape because the speed drop is actually somewhat helpful into the Mantine because this actually gets us under speed Klotzer most likely. And so here I decided to bring out the Tornadus. And I decide, just to go for the Protect to stall a little bit of Trick Room. As we see, there's only 2 turns of Trick Room left. And I decided to go for the Body Press, which should kill Lipard from this range. So we get the Protect off with Tornadus. They fake tears into my Mantine, and the Mantine does get its Body Press off, and it does kill the Lipard, which is pretty good. And then the Ice Beam goes into the Tornadus, which protects. And so right now I'm definitely feeling like I'm pretty good. I have 2 Pokemon, or 3 Pokemon. They're down to 2 Pokemon. And so now I just need to kind of figure out, what the best thing to do. And so here I'm thinking about just Icy Winding. It gets a little bit of chip, and I can definitely make sure I outspeed in the following turns. And then I'm debating on switching out Landorus. The idea behind this is that getting rid of that -2 special defense, I think that Mantine versus these 2 Pokemon can actually finish up the game by itself because of its Key Berry and high special defense and Kloster's kind of poor stats, or not stat thing. And here they get an Ice Beam into the Tornadus, and it kills, even though I definitely think that is actually a high roll, which is really sad because my Tornadus is guaranteed to survive that at max HP. And so my little bit of damage was the difference between surviving and not. And here they got a crit and kills my Landorus, and there's a disconnect, and this is so annoying. So yeah, so without that high roll on the Ice Beam, my Tornadus probably survives, and then I definitely think I'm in a commanding position. But even without that, the disconnect is really annoying because I think that my Mantine wins in that 2v1 because the Dragapult has ended up being physical. And in addition to that, if the Dragapult didn't get the crit, my Landorus also survives there, which is definitely another thing that's really annoying. And so here we end up just discussing how we could possibly make it up. And we come to the realization there's really not a good way to make it up. And so I decide to kindly just let them have game 1. And so with that, we get into game 2. So we were for game 2. So we lost game 1, even though I feel pretty confident that my Mantine could take the 2v1. And so here I'm still feel pretty good about, Mantine being a good win in-game condition. And because my Tornadus doesn't have taunt, it does not seem like a great lead as I thought it would be, as it should be. And so I decided to lead Thundurus and Articuno because Thundurus is pretty good into their team, and I decided to go with Landorus and Mantine. I'm debating on Salamance and Tornadus because they seem like they can be pretty good, especially against like late game Dragapult. But I decided to just go with the Landorus because the Focus Sash seems important. So they lead the exact same lead, and I lead my new lead of Thundurus and Articuno. And so with this, I don't think there's much to do outside of just double up into the Behem spot. Triple Axle and Dark Pulse. So they fake out into the Articuno, and we Dark Pulse into the Behem, doing quite a bit of damage. And the Articuno gets flinched, and they go for the Meteor Beam. So definitely likely going to lose anything because they're likely going to get the analytic boost here. And Articuno just survived without the analytic boost. The Meteor Beam, though, goes into the Thundurus instead of the Articuno, and Thundurus ends up dying here. And so I decided to switch out into Landorus because Landorus seems like the better bring right now. It has good offensive damage into them. And so here I decide to just go for... Well, here I'm debating on whether or not I should attack into the Behem or read a Protect. And I decided to read a Protect on the Behem and go for the double up into the Liepard spot. And sadly, they don't protect with the Behem, which definitely is very bad for me, especially because they get the fake tears into the Articuno. And we get the Earth Power into the Liepard and the Triple Axle into the Liepard. And the double up luckily gets the kill on the Liepard, but my decision not to attack the Behem definitely gets me into a situation where this Thunderbolt right here is a clean kill, which is definitely sad. However, I'm not feeling too bad because I do have Mantine in the back, and I should be able to kill the Behem with an Earth Power. And they bring out Cloudser. And so this definitely looks like it's a reasonably good position for me because I think I'm able to get an Amnesia boost on my Mantine and get into a position where I can just have a 2v1 with I should be able to kill the Behem, get a +2 Amnesia on the Mantine, and maybe get into a kind of a similar position as I did in game 1, which I think I had a good chance of being able to win. And so the Earth Power here gets the kill, and we get the Amnesia boost up, which means that anything other than a physical Pokemon, I pretty much have this game set up on. And they end up getting the Ice Beam off, which is convenient because they didn't do an Icy Wind because I do survive this with the Focus Sash. And so now we're in pretty much the same exact same put as game 1 would have been. And so here I decide to just get an Air Slash into Dragapult because Dragapult's the only Pokemon that actually really matters. The Cloudster is pretty much useless against my Mantine, and so if I can kill Dragapult, Mantine easily wins the game. And so here they reveal a Dragon Darts again, which kills my Landorus and hits into my Mantine. And here I realize very much that their Dragapult is likely choice banned, which I didn't realize in game 1 because of the crit onto the Landorus. And so now I'm not feeling great because without the choice band, I think I win this game because of the Key Berry and the Amnesia boost. But without the choice band, with the choice band, I think it's going to out damage my Key Berry boost with these. And as we can see, it does do over 50%. And my roost isn't enough to overcome this. And so this is really sad because I definitely think that if I would have realized that they were banded from game one, I would have been able to adjust a little bit and realize that this is not type the end game I need to get into. And I possibly could have gotten to a situation where I could have, not not been losing here. Because for example, if this Mantai, if I positioned myself into a different position where I knew this end game wasn't winning, I definitely could have probably got there. But now this game's pretty much over unless I misinterpreted and that they're not banded, which they are, and they just don't click Dragapult or Dragon Darts. But definitely a very sad game, especially because it just feels like I played the same game twice, and this is just kind of the end of game one, and me realizing that, and so if me realizing this wouldn't have helped or wouldn't have won me the game in game one, would have been very useful. But you know, it happens. Sad day. Basically, I lost a 3-game set in one game, uh, and so yeah, with here, pretty much the only hope is that they're not banded and they accidentally misclick the wrong move on the Dragapult at this point. And with that, my Mantine dies and we lose the set. Definitely very sad. Definitely not the most exciting match to watch. I'm sure because nothing really happened except the same game twice. But we start the season off 1-1. Not the best start, but hopefully you enjoyed and thanks for watching.